Hey there everybody, welcome to my channel. Thanks for clicking on the video. If you like it, I hope you'll stick around and subscribe and comment and all that fun stuff. I quite enjoy everybody's comments. It makes me feel good to have people to talk to about these things, so that's great. I'm doing pretty all right. My kids just had a nice long 3-day weekend, and in that time I did get some work done for this. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about 90 Day Fiance Season 10 Episode 4 of these two lovers. I'm going to go ahead and start off with Gino and Jasmine. So we have 84 long days until these two wed. Gino has 25 hats for all occasions on the back of his closet. Jasmine is playing with Coco, teaching her how to jump on the bed. So yay for that. She tells us that Gino has been giving her the cold shoulder ever since they left the massage place, and he learned about her booty and the stuff. Well, just about the booty, really. He didn't learn the other part. She knows that he's mad because he told her the truth, that she is selfish. And she said maybe he's right, because what she did was selfish. But it's done now. Gino says that he's disappointed and angry because he sent her $4,000 for the dress and she got a booty instead. So now he feels betrayed and she's only thinking of herself, and he feels she doesn't care about the wedding, and she's lying. So what else could she be lying about? There is more actually. It all makes sense now that she had the goodbye Valentine's date with Dane now. So then she calls her sister, and her sister's excited to hear from her. She wants to know everything. And also she says that the kids miss her and they want to video call her. And, of course, Jasmine misses them too. But she's going to do everything besides skip her weekly spa day, to get them to the U.S. quickly. Then she says her first week has been a mess, just bad news after bad news, but she's freaking out right now about bringing her kids. She isn't working and she can't sponsor them, so it has to be Gino, who also isn't working. And then she tells her sister that Gino quit his job, and her sister gasps. She's like, who's going to buy our groceries now? She's like, yeah, he quit his job to spend time with her, and now all he's saying is they have a budget and they can't spend money and they need to worry about money. But of course she doesn't need to worry because he'll be there with her all the time. The sister's like, well, what was he thinking? He didn't even consult you. And she's like, yeah, he told me when I was already here. Like, Gino and Jasmine don't tell each other anything, ever. Like, why are either of them surprised? The sister's like, gosh, what have you gotten yourself into? And she's like, well, to be fair, I'm not innocent. He doesn't know Dane put $2,000 down on those booty cheeks of hers. And she says that's one of the things she feels bad about, is getting the money from Dane as a loan for her implants. But then it became a gift. Yikes. She says Gino doesn't like or trust Dane, and he doesn't want them around each other. Then they show the flashback of them talking about her living in the same building and all the stuff from last season. She says when Gino learned about their friendship, he disagreed. He wanted her to end it because he felt like Dan is competition. But now she sees him as a brother who is always there to help. Like, no one believes that after all the things that she says to Gino about Dane and how they have videos and things with him, and I'm gonna go back to him, he was the best lover I had, and we were friends with benefits. Of course he doesn't trust her with him. So she starts crying, and the sister's like, for once in your life, go in with a white flag. She says she knows this is gonna cause big problems between them, so she isn't gonna tell him about that part with Dane yet, but she will eventually. Later, they meet up in the Panamanian flag living room. The mood is tense. Gino isn't happy. He looks like he's going to cry. She says she needs to talk to him, and she's sad that he's mad at her. They just can't keep ignoring each other. And, he's just mad about the dress money and that she spent it on surgery that she doesn't need, and she lied. So he feels betrayed by her. He, busted his ass working to send her money, and she went and busted her ass with implants. And he's like, when is she going to do something for us? Because everything she does is for her. She, feels bad that he feels this way, but he lied to her about, by not telling her the truth. He says it's not the same thing, and that's true. He quit his job to be with her and support her. So he is meaning that he did the thing for her, but she also did the thing she did for her. No one is doing a thing for Gino, and that's his problem. And she's like, if he had told her about quitting his job and them being on a tight budget, she never would have spent the money. But she was thinking he was working and that they're okay. And that's BS, because she still went and used her wedding dress money and her savings, because she was able to have a savings without working somehow. And she used it for a butt. That's a problem. She says she regrets it, but she can't take the money, or she can't go back to the doctor and be like, okay, take them out, give me my money back. But she wishes she could. He's like, what's going to happen if they get married and she keeps spending money on cosmetic procedures she doesn't need? She starts to get a little emotional, and she's like, she doesn't see herself the way he does. She's very insecure about her body, and she just wanted to look pretty for him. She works hard at the gym, she eats healthy, but the reflection that she sees doesn't match reality. So it sounds like she has body dysmorphia, which is basically what she said. What she sees isn't what it is. I have that a little bit too. I feel like I'm way bigger than I am. I always buy clothes too big. I'm terrified to buy anything smaller than 2X, even though extra large is getting to be pretty baggy on me. But I just see myself as this huge person, because I lost over 220 pounds in 2 years. So I can relate with her on that. And I'm glad they're showing something real with them instead of something nasty. Anyway, sorry about that. She says she's so insecure, and she got so skinny, and she lost her butt, and she felt like Gino wouldn't love her. And I am feeling bad for her right now, because she's being pretty vulnerable, and she's talking calmly. He tells her that she doesn't have to change all this stuff, that he likes her the way that she is. And she was beautiful the day he met her, and he's asked her why she needs to have all these medical procedures. She said she's trying her best. She removed her hair extensions that she would pay thousands of dollars on. She says that she hates it because, she's losing it. And he tells her he loves her natural hair and it's beautiful. And he loves it how it is now. Then she tells us that she suffers from alopecia. And because of that, she has worn hair extensions and wigs for 15 years. And she's very insecure about her hair. And it means a lot to hear him compliment her hair and tell her how beautiful she looks, because that helps her self-esteem. Then he tells her how beautiful she is, and he tells us that he knew that she had insecurities, but she struggles with it more than he knows, apparently. And he is glad she apologized, because she doesn't often do that. And she's being honest, so that gives him hope that she'll be honest in the future. Wait till she tells him about the gift from Dan. I guess at least Gino has more stock in her booty than Dan does. So there's that. He tells her they have to stop hiding things from each other, because that's going to prevent a lot of pain and suffering. Otherwise, their relationship's going to be down the drain. She's like, no, don't say that. I want us to be happy, but I have a few more secrets to tell you. She says that she agrees about them being honest, so she's going to have to come clean. Eventually again, eventually, probably after they're married or at the tell-all. But now isn't the time for that either. And then she baby talks, so They got me to cringe at least once this episode for them, so yay for that. And that was all we had for them on this episode. Alright guys, next up we're going to talk about Rob and Sophie. They have 87 days to wed. I do like that there's an actual countdown to a wedding on this show and not like on the spin-offs where it's like, are they even going to make it to engagement or something like that. Sophie's telling him she's nervous to see his sister, and he's saying that it's been up and down since she got there with fighting and bickering and cheating talk, but he's not going to dwell on the negative. They have a long journey. So that being said, they're off to see his sister. She asks for advice, and he says to be positive and to talk about how excited she is to meet all the family and not to be shy. She doesn't like the don't act shy part. He tells her to be open and honest. He says that she has met his sister Victoria twice, so they do know each other. Not well, but they know each other. And he thinks that she likes Sophie and thinks she's a good girl and genuine. His sister is also a party planner and agreed to plan their wedding, so she must like her. Sophie says that she's nervous to see his sister. She hasn't seen her in a while, and before she's just a girlfriend, and now she's the woman marrying her brother. So she's nervous about being judged or grilled. They walk in, they hug. Actually, she half hugs Rob and then pushes him to the side. She runs and hugs Sophie. So I think she likes her. She tells his sister she's excited she's there now, but they have a lot to do for the wedding. They're not going to wait for 90 days to get married. She's like, wait, I don't even have you guys on my calendar yet. Sophie says she wants to kind of do a courthouse thing and not a huge ceremony, but they still want to do like a reception or something special because they are getting married. She wants to have like a nice wedding and not a rushed one. She tells Sophie that might be a good distraction since she can't go anywhere or do anything and has no friends or something like that. She says she's ready to get married, but there is pressure because they have to do it in 90 days. And that's it, or she has to leave. But she thinks they're ready. So then the sister asks about kids. And he's like, yeah, for sure, we're going to have kids one day. She asks Sophie when she wants kids. And she's like, yeah, we haven't had this conversation. And the sister's like, what, you haven't talked about this and you're going to get married? And she's looking at her brother like, for real, bro? He says he feels that they have touched base on it and that they will have kids in the future. Sophie's like, well, to be honest, I don't think I want to be pregnant. The sister's like sipping her drink. He's like, what does that mean? And she's like, I don't want to be pregnant. He's like, so you don't want kids? She says, if she doesn't, is that okay? Because right now she doesn't. And she isn't like 23 or something, of course. You know, she doesn't want one yet. That might change in 5 to 10 years, maybe. Who knows? She seems so confused about who she is and just getting married and all of that. She asks him if that's a problem for him. He just says, yeah, twice. She says she thought they were on the same page. And the sister's like, well, that's your problem. You guys don't talk. They're like assuming and thinking and not talking. Rob just gets up, bolts out of there. He tells us he doesn't know how he is. He doesn't know. She just rocked his belief in her and what they could have. And what else is she going to tell him that she doesn't want or doesn't care about? Well, funny you should ask. But I do feel a little bad that he's crying. He says he just doesn't want it to be the two of them forever, and he saw them being more. And later, the sister's telling her if she really never sees children in her future, she needs to be honest about that. Victoria tells us that she's in shock, and, you know, if she hadn't asked, they probably wouldn't have even talked about it. Sophie says for her it's more of a pregnancy thing. She doesn't even know if she can have kids, because when she was 15, they found a cyst on her ovary, and if they hadn't found it in time, she could have not made it, and she even had to have surgery, things like that. They told her it could have messed with her eggs, And she says it would be more devastating to try to have kids and then be told that she can't. So it's easier to say you don't want to be pregnant. When I was younger, I was diagnosed with PCOS. It's polycystic ovarian syndrome. And I basically had a bunch of tiny little cysts on my ovaries. Nothing extreme like this. But they did say, like, it causes you to gain weight and you can, like, grow weird body hair. And your hormones are all messed up and you sometimes never could have a period. And it could be hard for you to get pregnant. And I remember for, like, years, I was not really safe around birth control. I was in a very long-term relationship. And for 3 years, I never got pregnant with my kid's dad. And we weren't trying to get pregnant. I just didn't think I could. And then after 3 years, I did. So there is hope. It can happen. And then I had twins. So talk about that. Yikes, I never thought. So she could have hope, but she does need to be open with him about this. So Rob is over there. He's mad, devastated. He says that he feels that she knows what he wants and that he wants kids because he's even told her what he would name his kids. But now she's playing and like she doesn't remember that he wanted them. He says they're far into this to not know because this isn't a tiny thing. The sister asks Sophie if he knows this stuff. She says he knows she had surgery because he asked about the scar on her stomach, but he doesn't know that it affected her eggs. She's like, well, damn, girl, you need to tell him this. She says she doesn't want kids because of medical issues, and she doesn't really share that with anyone. She says that he knows some stuff, but he never asked, and she thought if he wanted them so bad, he would make sure that she could. She said they always talk about living together with animals. They never really talk about it with kids. She feels like if he was really wanting it, he would ask. He feels like she should just know. It's like, guess what, you guys? Nobody is a mind reader. So she finally goes to check on him. He's over there playing games like a child. She asks if he's okay. Nope, he's not. She makes him stop playing hoops to talk to her. He's just blindsided by this, and she's trying to act like she had no idea he wanted kids. She doesn't want to talk about this in an arcade, which is fair. And he's like, how can we enjoy this arcade now? She says he's acting like he hates her. She's upset and doesn't know how they can make up from this because he never looked at her so hateful. He tells her he doesn't know what he will do with his life if he doesn't have kids. And he's like, he doesn't know what she saw them doing when they were older. Because even Jay-Z and Fiance have kids. And he doesn't want to be single forever. It's like, poor me. All about me. He doesn't care about her. Why? He never once asked her why. But if he wanted to not have kids, he'd just be a player forever. He tells her to leave him alone. She does. He goes back to his hoops. His sister finds him, to say bye. He says he has a lot to process. She's like, yeah, I wasn't expecting that. You'd think you guys would have talked about it before. He felt like it was put out there. She's like, you need to ask the questions. He tells his sister the same thing. Like, if he's telling someone what he would name his kids, then it's a good indication that he would want them. The sister's like, well, she confided in me, and this is important, that, it's more of a legitimate medical fear. The sister tells him this. So, he should listen with an open heart because the one thing a woman's body is supposed to do is to make kids. So if you feel like that is taken from you, it's hard, and they need to have a conversation. She's like, I love you. She's out. Goodbye. He says Sophie needs to say something to make him understand what she's thinking. Because he couldn't get married today. That would be a lie. And his heart is torn, and that's just fair to nobody. They get in the car. She's freezing. She asks if he has heat. He says not really. Like, dang, Rob, no bathroom, no heat. You have to hold the trunk up with a stick. Like, get it together, my guy. Over here worried about kids when you are one. So, she feels like he's making her out to be a villain for saying that she doesn't want kids when she isn't obligated to have kids. But she wants to be with him, and she doesn't think he feels the same just by how he's acting, because he's just completely switched on her. And this is what he does when he hears things he doesn't like. And he doesn't want to hear her reason for not wanting kids. You know, she just wants him to listen and understand. But she just feels like he hates her now. And he doesn't want to hear what she has to say. They get home. He's sulking and pouting. She tells him that she's too tired to talk. So she wants to wait till tomorrow when she can give him her full energy and get her thoughts together. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It helps you decompress and figure out properly what to say without anger in the mix. So she's going to bed. He's going to walk his dog. He doesn't know how she can sleep. He knows he isn't going to sleep. You know, everything's about this guy. It's all about him. She's arm candy to him, and that's it. And apparently a baby factory. But, you know, he's going to be up all night thinking about what's going on with his life. And he leaves for a walk, and he almost leaves the dog, but the dog catches up, so that's nice. And we'll talk more about these guys next week, because I have watched the next episode, and I have some thoughts. All right, next up, let's talk about Nikki and Igor. They get to his place. A tree branch almost takes him out by the little sweater scarf he was wearing. She's excited to see his place. She's asking him if she looks over the top, or if she's super hot, or if he's like, wow, this is my woman. He said, wow, this is my woman. It's like she came out of the movies. But we know what movies he's talking about because he told us in the last episode. Then he says maybe a cartoon. I was not expecting that. And she got upset, and she's like, no, James Bond. Ha ha. But then they get to his door. He tells her the adventure starts with his new carpet. He means welcome mat. And he wants her to take the first step into their happiness. She walks in. She calls it cute. She says that she agreed to help him with money, and before he came, he asked for money to fix his bathroom. And she sent it to him, and she can see he actually fixed the bathroom, and it shows he cares about making her comfortable there. So, bathroom passes the check. Now to the kitchen. He shows her the board on the wall with the rules to love and support each other. It's a small list. She says that's why they're meant to be. They have the same values. Love and support each other. That's it. She runs and dives in the bed. He's like, look, here's the light. She starts like being very inappropriate on the bed. She's like, being intimate is a big part of making things work, not just money and phone calls. And sometimes she doesn't even feel like he tries with the intimacy part. He starts to ignore her still and shows her where she could put her clothes. She's telling us now she feels rejected because you have to make love to be in love or something. Then she asks him to give her a shower while straddling him. And he isn't sure he wants part in that. So she showers herself. Next time we see them, they're waking up to the sweet sounds of motorcycle revving. And like the cameras were just filming them, waiting for a loud motorcycle to wake them up. She says waking up her first morning makes her feel whole again. Part of her heart is no longer missing. Plus, it feels good to be cuddled up by his big muscles. And they're going to a park today. He's going to walk her there. So she goes off to get ready. It's going to take 1 to 2 business days or hours. He says he likes her more natural. Plus, who wants to wait 2 hours for her to glam up? She says 2 hours is her looking natural. To get glammed up, it takes 3. Yikes. He says that he's lived with women before, and sometimes it takes them a long time to get ready, but it takes Nikki the longest. She'll tell him 30 or 50 minutes, and it takes hours. And that's ridiculous, because it takes me 1 hour from shower to makeup, and that includes getting my twins dressed. Like, it's possible. I mean, I know I don't look as glamorous, but still. Then they ask about sexy time, but that was a no-go. They ate and slept. She doesn't know what the plan is as far as who's going to make the first move, but she thinks their priorities are mismatched. So he's off to the store. He's going to buy bacon and eggs. He says waking up to her feels like a new life. And he says they weren't up for sexy time. They slept for about 12 hours, which is about how long she's going to be sitting here doing her makeup. And he asked her how many more hours that's going to take. She's like, if you want all natural, go for a Russian girl. Apparently, he's known for 17 years about her makeup, and it's not going to change. She feels like he's trying to change her, and she says that since he found out she was trans, his entire character changed to this macho guy, trying to make her submissive, and that makes her upset. Maybe he was just growing up, because when you met him, he was practically a child. But she doesn't understand because she wore makeup 17 years ago. He says that he's grown up. Oh, what did I just say? And he sees a lot of makeup, and now he has knowledge. And she's like, you're not a makeup artist, and I am, and this is what I do, and you're not going to control my hair, makeup, or style. And he's like, oh, is that all? You have more fingers. She says that he thinks everything is funny. She feels like he doesn't want to work on or make things better, and that everything's a joke. And he's not taking their relationship serious. She says he's walking at a child's pace, but she loves him. Also, he asks for a hug, and she just straddles him, and I'm like, yikes. But she's thinking positive because she wants her relationship to work. So now they're off to the park. He says it's one of the most beautiful parks there. He says you can hear a lot of love-making noises out there at night. And I didn't catch what they said about the daytime. He went on more about the night noises. She stops for ice cream. Meanwhile, she's trying to make out with him. And then she, gets ice cream on her face on purpose and tries to make him lick it. How gross and desperate and juvenile. He doesn't want a mouthful of makeup, so he declines. And she starts to throw a fit. And she doesn't have a napkin. So that means he has to lick it off, apparently. So he just walks away from her to get a napkin. And she looks at the cotton candy girl, who doesn't even look up at her. Can you believe my fiance wouldn't lick my face? And she just hands her a cotton candy and goes about her day. She isn't getting paid to chat with this woman. She says it's a good gesture to... Oh, so moving on. She says it's a good gesture to go to the park because they had their first engagement there 17 years ago. And they sit down on a blanket. He has some puzzle games prepared. She says that he likes chess, so this isn't odd that he has puzzles. She guesses. She's not happy, though. She feels like she deserves a little bit more, like a picnic with wine. And she doesn't know if this is one of his moves to bring women to the park to play puzzles. And maybe that's why he was single at 36. Dang, you're single at 57 or however old you are. I don't know. But she manages to finish the little puzzle. And then she's like, what else do you have in there? Hide the hot dog? She is so gross, it's making me uncomfortable. And I don't know why they have her and Jasmine on the same show. It's too much. And she feels predatory to me. It grosses me out. She's like, let's go work on the relationship and go to the house. And he says for sleep. And she's like, no, not for sleep. She says, let's go to make a baby. I'm like, is she serious? Even if she could have a baby, she's pretty up there in age. I think, I can't tell anymore. But it's not funny to be like, let's go make a baby when she knows that's not an option. Maybe he wants kids. Maybe that's sensitive. For some reason that cut off and I don't know exactly where, so I'm going to just go where I was. She was talking about they're going to go make a baby and all of that. She tells him that she hasn't seen him in 9 months and she wants to be intimate and it doesn't seem like he wants to or cares. He says that he does want her and she's asking if he would rather play chess than make love, and she also tells him he doesn't appreciate having a beautiful, gorgeous woman being with him. And she hasn't seen him in 9 months. He's acting like he has another woman. And if he doesn't like being with her, then why is he with her? She has an interview, or they have an interview, and she says when she gets there, it's no spark, which she means a flash in your soul and your heart or your genitalia. And that's a spark. You feel it inside you, and you want to make love to the woman that you're going to marry after 9 months of not seeing her. So she questions his love for her. He tells her that, he's always trying to be nice to her and she just wants to fight. And he's like, we're having a nice romantic time. She's like, this is something you do when you live together. And it bothers her that he doesn't seem to want to spend intimate time with her. Not just now, but it happens a lot. And if he isn't attracted to her in that way, then why is he with her? And she throws the old, when you need money or ask for anything, I'm always there. And then she's like, pack it up, Igor, let's go. She tells him she feels intimately rejected by him, and that makes her think he doesn't want her or has someone else. He tells her their relationship isn't built on physical, it's more like soul. And he says physically he needs nice time with her, and then he'll feel his man energy come up. And I'm thinking, well, maybe this is his revenge on her for what she did to him. So they leave the park, and he's like, hey, I want to show you this book I have for couples to help understand each other better. And she's like, couples make love, and you don't want to do that with me. Like, come on now. If a man's like going out to buy his own book to help with that, give him a chance. He's like, oh, so you mean physically or what? And she's like, yeah, duh. She says that if this doesn't seriously change in 48 hours, she's going to leave. He's not going to see her again. And she says she has so many emotions held inside with their relationship. She realized how cold he is in person. And that's just slapping her in the face. He never once posted her on social media. Like, what is it with these people? Never once, not on social media. She feels like a secret. He never wanted her to go to Moldova in the first place. And she feels like he's ashamed of her. And a lot of other things that she doesn't want to feel. And she deserves more. So now we wait to see if it works. Or, if he runs and emotionally checks out like he always does, I guess. I really don't care. Like, she's starting to disgust me. And like I said, it feels predatory. And no one's entitled to someone else sexually, even if you're throwing thousands of dollars and, paying for nose jobs and Botox and cars and bathrooms. That doesn't entitle you to his body, and that's the difference. So, that's all I got to say about that. All right, next up I want to talk about Ashley and Manuel. She's making her smoke alarm go off, burning something. And he's like, what are you doing, woman? What's wrong with you? She's like, can't you feel the energy? He doesn't know what that means. She tells him that she does this to clear his energy. Then she starts doing her singing bowl. Meanwhile, the alarm is blaring. Smoke bellowing out of her cauldron. And he tells her to open a window. And she's like, oh, it feels amazing. It's wonderful. Like, first of all, when you burn sage, the windows need to be open. Otherwise, you're chasing negative energy around in a circle. That negative energy has nowhere else to go otherwise. So she should know that. Like, that's the second part. I'm surprised she didn't know that. Then she walks in. He looks miserable. She's like trying to make small talk. She's like, do you have something to say to me? He's like, so this is later after she's going to burn the house down, not knowing how to burn sage. She walks in. She's crabby. He's sitting there. And she's like, do you have something else to say to me? He says he doesn't. She said they woke up this morning, everything was fine, but he told her he can't get internet on his Ecuadorian phone. So she called her phone company. She asked how much it would be to get a new phone. They said it wouldn't be that much. They'll waive the fee. It can be there in 2 days. So she was happy and excited. She tells him he says that isn't soon enough because he needs internet. So she's like, asked him if he wanted her to cancel it, and he said yeah, and walked away. And Ashley feels like she deserves an apology, and I think she's right, because that seems very ungrateful to me. He tells her that she's the one yelling, and she explains that she said it would be 2 days, and he said it's too late. He's like, I'm just telling you I need internet. While I'm here, I can't work for a long time, and he needs to communicate with his people. And if she can't understand that, that's sad. She tells us he wants internet on his phone specifically. And now she's wondering why he needs it so bad. She has an iPad and a computer and the house internet, so whoever he needs to talk to for 2 days, he can talk to. She's telling him she has internet. He says he wants his phone and not hers. He's telling us right now he misses his family, and, they're not a couple hours away. Also, he needs his privacy. He doesn't always want to ask her for her phone. He's like, well, can't you just try to get a new chip in the phone, see if that works? And she's curious where she would do that. And he's like, I don't know, it's your city. You should know. She's like, this is why I got a new phone. Yours is from Ecuador. He's like, well, your phone works in Ecuador. Do you got an international phone? And she's like, this is the stupidest conversation I've ever had. She's losing brain cells. She's like, I got you a cell phone. What's the problem? He says he doesn't want to hear she got him a new one with her money and he isn't working. She says she wasn't saying that. He says that's what she yelled at him. And she's like, yeah, because it's absolutely ridiculous. He was acting like an a-hole because she got him a phone that was going to take too long. And it was disrespectful. And you have to give respect to get respect here. He tells us that he just wants her to understand his needs. He needs internet while he's there. He says he didn't respond rude or anything, and she exploded, and that's just how she is. All of a sudden, she's like, you aren't meditating, and I'm not sharing spiritual space with you. Like, who wants to share it with you, lady? You're chasing negative energy around the house like a carousel. No one wants to share it with you either. And he isn't even spiritual, though. And if he has to respect your beliefs, you have to respect his. So he doesn't understand spiritual space. Anyways, she says she's going to go meet her sister. She says that this is growing pains on steroids because they're still getting to know each other, which I can definitely relate to. She says she's done with this conversation. She doesn't have space for stupid conversations. And later we see her, she's meeting up with her sister. And they're at the park because she wanted to vent to her sister about the fight. And she needs to be talked off the ledge right now. She says she doesn't know if Manuel is adjusting or not adjusting well. And then the sister's like, oh, you got a hickey. Oh my gosh, that happens to me every time. It's terrible. I'm the worst one in my family with hickeys. And they all make fun of me, especially my sister. So that made me laugh. These two actually remind me of me and my sister because I'm always in a tizzy. And I'm calling her up and she has to talk me off the ledge. So I could relate to this. Anyways, they have a seat. She starts talking about the phone and how he wasn't pleased about how long it would take. The sister's like, well, the first thing he should have done was thank you. But he didn't. She says they couldn't work through this and she had to leave her space. And that's a red flag for her. She tells her that she has to work through it. She can't just walk away when things get hard. She's like, he told me to make sure I come back in a better mood. And then she says how he brought up, she cussed him out. And she's like, yeah, I cussed him out. I meant what I said. Her sister's like, you cursed him out? And she wants to know if he understood her. And I guess he repeated the curse words back. So she's cussing him out in English so he can't understand the mean things she's saying. That's terrible. And a little funny. Her sister says that Ashley goes from 0 to 100 real quick because she is fire and magic. So she must be an Aries, Leo, or Sagittarius, I'm guessing, because they're the fire signs. Sister asks if maybe he's just frustrated he can't talk to his family. She's like, he can on my phone, but he says he needs the internet now. But he actually means on his phone because she has internet. So he specifically wants the internet on his phone, and she's curious as to why. The sister says she's nervous because maybe he's planning on something with his family. Ashley says she would be a fool to not think about the fact they might be using her to come here to meet up with his family and then leave her. Apparently he has family in New York and somewhere else, and she wasn't worried about this until they started calling her so aggressively. She says his mom gave out his number because they haven't got his phone working, and they've called 9 times. The sister thinks that's weird. She's like, it's interesting. I never knew who they were when they were in Ecuador or when he was in Ecuador, but now they're blowing me up. Interesting. And it's like, well, they aren't trying to know you now either. They just want to talk to him, not you. She doesn't even know their names. And she's glad people are there for him so he doesn't feel alone. But he needs to realize why he's there. It's for her and to get married. She doesn't think he's using her for a green card. But she does believe that if it doesn't work out, he doesn't intend to go back to Ecuador. She doesn't know that for real. She just feels that way. The sister says that she supports her, but the red flags are flying, and she isn't right for her. Doesn't know if he's right for her or about his intentions, and they need to get to know each other better before getting married. Which is true, but they only have 80-some days left. Later, she's trying to cook, and her phone is just ringing. Mustn't be for her because she hunts Manuel down again. She tells him his family's calling again. She tells us that she's making dinner and these people are calling her like crazy. And she's trying to figure out who they are and what's up and why they're calling. And she tells him she thinks it's his family. And what do they want? And he's like, well, who? My cousin? She's like, maybe, I don't know. And she's like, and when have I met Mercy? Like, she hasn't, obviously. She tells us again, the phone's not working. So his mom handed out his number. And it's intense. She doesn't know who they are, and they're just family members of him in New York. She says, you never told me about this cousin. And he's like, I don't know all your cousins, which is true. Then she gets back on track, and she's like, she has a problem that they called 10 times. He's like, well, if you don't answer, they're going to keep calling. And she's like, well, let me call her, because they need to know what's happening. He agrees. Then she goes to do a video call, and he wants her to leave because it's private. And she's like, why don't you want me to talk with them? He says she's not going to understand. And she's like, dude, I speak Spanish. He's like, okay. She's like, oh, you think I will yell at her? And yeah, he is worried about that. She says she's not going to yell at his family. But I doubt that. And then he tells us her personality is bad. And she can't control herself in situations. So he once again reminds her not to yell. The cousin answers. She definitely seems like a cousin. He introduces her to Ashley. He fills her in on how his trip was. And then Ashley's like, I know you really want to talk to him, but why are you calling so much? And she just says she was worried about him because he didn't answer her messages and she wanted to hear from him. Ashley's trying to hold back her crazy. She says, she's always messaged her cousin, but they've never video chatted. And Ashley says they should meet and get to know each other. And Manuel says, little by little. And after time, he can fly there to meet his family there. Ashley finds out he has lots of cousins and uncles there. And she looks like, And she's like, oh, he has a lot of family in New York. So now she's wondering if he's using her. So before she blows up and looks crazy, she's like, I'm going to go finish dinner. And then she's like, if he wanted to leave and take a bus to New York, he could and he would. So now she's upset that he has a place to go. Like, he might be using her, sure, but it's okay for someone to have a place to go if things go bad. He isn't a prisoner. And, not only that, if they were just dating in the same city, they would have lots of places to go. So she must be a little insecure. Also, these two look just raggedy all the time. Like, no one showers or uses hygiene products in that house, I'm convinced. But that's all for them. Alright, guys, thank you for sticking it in this long. I hope you're enjoying it. If you are, please like the video and comment and all that fun stuff. I saved the newbies for last, so we're going to talk about Devin and Nick. Nick and Devin. Usually the American name goes first, but guess what? We met Nick first. He's 31. He was born and raised in Korea, and he spent 6 years in Australia learning English and working. So he has a Korean, Australian, English accent, and he gives us an example. He said people who would know him would describe him as a mix of everything, and he's an electrical engineer by day and a karaoke champion by night. So he's just a typical Korean guy. He was an introverted child and he had a problem with bullies, so he decided to join the military, and he learned he could do anything, and he wanted to see what was outside of South Korea, and he wanted to learn English. He just needed a change and a challenge. He said he hadn't dated anyone in 2 years, so his friends told him to, try out a dating app. And then he met Devin in Australia, and he thought it was fate. He loved that she was friendly and cute, and she's also the first white girl he's dated. He says he thinks Asian girls are too skinny, so he prefers Devin's body type. And he says she's fit, and she also used to play soccer. He says she's introverted, so when they first met, it was hard to make her laugh. But in time, she got more comfortable, and they started having fun, doing naughty things. She apparently would show him her booty for fun to make him laugh. Next thing we know, I'm seeing all these amazing foods, and he walks up to buy chicken feet. And it probably tastes good to him, and, the ladies seem nice, but out of all those foods, that's what he went for. She asked him about the pig stuffy he has with him. I call stuffed animals stuffies. Mom talk. And he's like, yeah, I want it for my girlfriend. Her nickname is Piggy. Like, excuse me, sir, what? Apparently she calls him Monkey, and he calls her Piggy because she's cute and chunky. And I'm like, what is with these people naming their partners after barn animals? He says he thought chubby meant little fat, but it means big fat. So he felt bad. Like, okay, don't call her anything with the word fat in it. Or any woman. But he says he's saying she's cute. He tells the lady with the world's best chicken feet he's marrying an American girl. She's like, oh, congrats. He says that Americans think chicken feet are gross. And she says that they won't eat it. And, I won't. They're right when it comes to me personally. I don't think everyone here won't eat it. So he says they dated for 2 years in Australia, but she missed her family in Arkansas. And he couldn't imagine living in 2 different countries. So they got engaged. They applied for the K1. And he also says that he knows there's nothing in Arkansas, no, Korean culture, so he is worried. And he's worried about the racists. He says it's been a year since he's seen her. But I think he meant 2 years. I'm not sure. But today she's going to be flying there. She's going to meet his parents. They're going to sightsee. And she always wanted to go there and see what it's like. So he's excited to show her around. He has a secret, though. And it's a good one because he's going to propose to her there. He says they got engaged and applied for the visa. And it was about paperwork and not romantic. So he wants to do it properly. He says that they need approval from his family and parents before they get married. And he thinks they're going to compare her to typical Korean girls. They have specific standards as to, the requirements of daughter-in-law in Korea. So he's nervous. If she messes up, he can't go, and that's going to destroy his life. So next time we see Nick, he's headed to pick up his girlfriend, Devin. This is her first time flying to Korea, and she's going to meet his parents. They were separated for 2 years waiting for the visa. See, I knew. Either he said it wrong the first time or I typed it wrong. Anyway, he's excited to touch her and get some loving tonight. He says, he's sure that she's going to be jet lagged, but he doesn't care because he's breaking that bed later. And then he changes subjects again. He says it's a sign of respect for her to go there and meet his family. And You know, this man really brought a stuffed pig to the airport instead of flowers. That's terrible. He could have had the pig holding flowers. Anyway, he says he's worried about chemistry because it's been a while and it might be different now. So he's standing there waiting with a stuffed pig and a character from Spirited Away. Finally, he sees her and he's like, "Piggy, come here." She jogs up, she runs into his arms, they hug. She tells us she's Devin. She's 24 from Searcy, Arkansas. They're both hugging and crying. She says it's emotional because they've been apart from each other for so long. And there's a time they didn't think it would work out. And then he gives her the pig and he says, "Look, Piggy, exactly like you." Yikes. And then she just says whatever. She says he uses it as a term of endearment, and she isn't offended by it, but in America it would be considered rude to call someone that. And she has told him that. But he says they're different. They're from different countries. And then she says, the reason they came there is to meet his parents. So she's nervous about it. She knows, it's going to ruin it if his parents don't like her. And she asks if he thinks that they're going to like her. And he says it's normal to be nervous. And, he's going to be nervous when he meets her family. But they're going to be there for each other. That was the new couple. Not a whole lot of opinion there. I think they are actually a legit couple, so that's nice. And I guess I'm excited to see what happens there. Alright guys, well thanks for hanging out with me today. I know this video was a little behind schedule than I thought. Like I said, my kids had a 3-day weekend, but I spent the last 2 days catching up on this. So I have, I had this episode, I have the newest episode of 90 Day ready to record. So that should be coming out tomorrow. If I get a chance to record it, which I should because I'm going to make that priority on my list. And I plan on also getting both other ways done this week. I'm still deciding if I'm just going to make it one video or 2 separate ones. So maybe let me know what you think about that in the comments. That won't be out till later in the week. But before Sunday, I'm pretty excited because I have it planned out in my head for it to go well. I've also just been dealing with the season changing here. Sometimes it can get me a little depressed and down, and I've been feeling so bad because I just feel like I'm failing at a lot of things, trying to do everything for my kids and my house, and my boyfriend's living here, myself. This is something that I love to do. It's like a cool hobby. I never really had a hobby I enjoyed so much. And I felt like I was failing at this. And instead of just getting upset about it, I just kind of worked my ass off the last 2 days to get these 2 episodes typed out. So I'm excited about that. Like I said, I'll be having mornings free a little bit so I can work on that. I also got a tattoo Friday. It was a cover-up from another one I had. You can kind of see it. And there's the Pisces constellation. And this is a triple moon goddess. And it kind of, it represents the 3 stages in a woman's life. So, maiden is one side, mother is the middle, and crone is the last one. So, it's like all the seasons of your life, all the wisdom and guidance. But yeah, so I had to have a cover up there. The one before had the pentagram in it. And I feel like I'm being moved to work with special needs kids once my kids get a little older. And I don't think that that's the most family-friendly thing, even though it doesn't offend me. Because in my head, a pentagram is each point of the star represents earth, air, fire, water, and the 5th point represents spirit. And then the circle is all of them joining together to work together. So I see pentagrams differently, but like I said, it just made me self-conscious. Plus, it looked terrible. I got it during the pandemic, with some guy I met on Facebook dating, like in his kitchen, because he told me he had a license, but he didn't. Anyway, got it fixed. It's beautiful. I'm very much in love. So that was also why I didn't get this out this weekend, because my wrist was very swollen. Anyways, I hope you guys are doing great and you have a great week, and I appreciate you sticking in there with me. And I'm going to try to, get over this depression and anxiety. I don't know if I've ever said, so I suffer from like general depression and anxiety, but I also have what is called cluster C personality disorder, and it's basically 3 different things in a category, but they're all like anxiety ones. So I have like a fear of messing up, a fear of rejection, all these other things. But it's better because I've looked it up, and each like a symptom. When I used to look it up, I had everything on the list. Like, I felt that way about everything. And I was reading it the other day because I was trying to explain to someone how I feel the way I do and why I always think like I am not doing good enough or enough, and why I'm like such a control freak. And I was going through the list of these symptoms, and there was like full categories I don't feel like I have issues with anymore. And I really have to say, like, 3 years of therapy really helped me with that. And this is something I'm always going to struggle with. It came from the years and years of narcissistic abuse and gaslighting I've been put through my whole life. Sometimes dealing with it really gets me down, especially when I feel like I'm not doing good enough. So I really appreciate you guys, and I appreciate you listening to this. I'm going to try to not get emotional about it. But you'll be getting at least 2 more videos from me in the next few days, so I look forward to that. I'm excited to talk about this next episode, episode 5 of season 10 of 90 Day, because we know I have some feelings about this. So I will see you guys there, and don't forget to take deep breaths and take care of yourself and give yourself some of the like grace that you give others in the world, because you need that too. So have a good night, guys. Bye.